Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It, and Netflix has released the first part of the trilogy for Transformers War for Cybertron. I'm going to give you my thoughts right after the jump. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Now, Autobots, roll out. The first act or part of the new Transformers War for Cybertron, not to be confused with the video game of the exact same name, has finally dropped for Netflix. Got delayed a little bit because of COVID, but it is finally here. I've watched all 6 episodes. It's about a 3 hour, just under 3 hour watch of 6 25-minute episodes from the new production studio, Rooster Teeth Studios. They exist as Rooster Teeth, but the subsidiary Rooster Teeth Studios, first time cracking with a little joint venture with Hasbro's Allspark and Netflix. And they've given us a really, really different look, an adult, more grounded and adult look at the Transformers than I think we're typically used to. Let me just give you a little background on my Transformers experience and what I do like. I grew up with these original cartoons and that Transformers movie where I think, yeah, as a grown man, I can say this safely, and I still probably would do it now if I watch it. When Optimus dies in that first cartoon movie, yeah, I weep like a little kid. So, still. So, that was important to me. Beast Wars was another cartoon that I thought was really well done, and I think the Transformers 1 Michael Bay movie and Bumblebee are the only two live action versions that I really enjoy. The rest of it, there's some stuff here and there I like, but overall, it's kind of a mess of a series. Especially those last two before Bumblebee. And so I was excited to kind of see Transformers get back to some type of glory because I think they've sort of become more kid friendly and thus has lost me as a fan because I was like I can't relate to that. And so when I saw this first trailer, I was like, oh, they're doing some adult stuff and this looks more grounded and a little bit more edgier. Man, was I right? After watching this is a very dark and brutal look at the Transformers war. And it sort of acts as a prequel, if you will. You can use it as a prequel to the movies before they actually get to Earth, or the original cartoons before they actually get to Earth. This is what sets the impetus of why the Allspark is not on Cybertron, and we end up where we do in the films. But we are eventually going to get this in this animated form as well. So I don't want to say that it's a prequel to all of that, but it is. But it's also a prequel to what they're going to do in Act 2 of this. So, a couple of the biggest things that I have for this is that the biggest thing that this cartoon does is that it puts Optimus Prime and Megatron on opposite sides, but basically two sides of the same coin. A lot of the things that they do are in direct opposition of each other, and sometimes be damned if whoever else it affects, or their own team, or for the rights of Cybertron as a whole, they're so consumed with stopping the other or getting in the way of the other that they're putting themselves and the people that they care about in danger to stop the other. And it stops sort of being about Cybertron all the time, and more so about being about the fact that they're right. And I put my flag in the sand, and Autobots are here, and Decepticons are here, and that's just the way it is, and it's fascinating to see how that plays out. This series does its damnedest to make sure that Optimus Prime does not look as strong and overpowered as he usually does in a lot of the films and a lot of the previous incarnations. Like, he takes some L's. He gets his butt handed to him. He takes some L's as far as getting some Autobots destroyed, getting set up for traps that it's clear that it's a trap, but he's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. It's just we are seeing Optimus become who we know Optimus to be, but in this particular Act 1, he ain't there yet. He's taking some L's. So much so, there's a couple of points when we all want Optimus Prime to say the classic Autobots roll out, and we eventually get there. But he takes so many weird turns of Autobots leave quickly, or Autobots let's retreat, or Autobots we should be leaving at this point in time. I'm like, dude, just say roll out. Like, all you gotta do is say roll out. But that's just me. I think the voice actor who is replacing Peter Cullen does a really good job of Optimus Prime without actually seeming like you're trying to uh, just recreate him or steal off of him. It feels like, yes, this is what Optimus would feel like if he was slightly younger, a little bit more inept, but still has that gravitas and that weight. It's like, oh no, that feels like Optimus, and he sounds like Optimus. But you obviously know that that's not Peter's not particularly doing this one. So, but he does a great job without feeling like it's a caricature version of what we expect and seen all the times from Optimus before. Like I said before, it's very dark, very brutal. Like we see Transformers die, we see fallen Transformers where they've gotten some parts of them limbs torn off. There's a whole brigade of just dead or falling off Transformers that we see, and I was like, oh, this is fascinating to watch. Just the utter darkness and destruction that has happened, but we still have some of the familiar things and familiar notes that we're always used to. We get Megatron, we get Starscream sniveling and being everything humanly possible to robotically possible to get on Megatron's good side, but also still being negative towards how he's running things. Like if I was running this, you get all of that, and it still feels like Transformers, but it just feels like it with a little layer of what a person who is of age or grown up would want to see from their version of Transformers. The one character though that I really want to speak on in these first 6 episodes was Bumblebee. While we still have Optimus and Megatron being two sides of the coin and diametrically opposed and doing everything possible, be damned if the worlds to stop each other. Bumblebee starts off this series in a place that I think is fascinating for just that character and for this series as a whole. He's neutral. He doesn't have a dog in the fight for the Autobots or a dog in the fight for the Decepticons. He is all about himself, and he's sort of a hoarder of Energon. Like he's a scout. He's able to find all the Energon, and he gets paid by factions to locate Energon cubes. And that's where it starts off. It's great to see because he gets called out for the fact that he hasn't chosen a side, but it doesn't really affect him. You have in the very first episode, Megatron just like, you think you're cool because you haven't picked a side, but you're a coward because you haven't backed anything. You stand for nothing. And I was like, oh, that's cold. That's cold. We have our Bumblebee actually talking, which is good because he has a lot of character development for somebody who's torn that I don't fit on either side. And then something happens to him. I won't go into complete spoilers. Something happens to him that he all of a sudden is like, is given a purpose in life, and we start getting to see some of what we expect and the loyalty and what we expect Bumblebee to be towards the Autobots and Prime and all of that good stuff. But it does not start off that way, and it's interesting to see how, because it doesn't start off that way, when we get to Act 2 and Act 3, how loyal is he? Because we're always expecting that Bumblebee has been Prime's right-hand man from jump. And to get this now to see that, oh, he may not be the guy that's always going to be here for him. I think that's a cool thing to play on. But all in all, I think this is a great jump-off point. I'm really excited. What really sucks is that I burned through these in less than 3 hours. It's only 6 episodes. They're quick. It's easy. Once you start one, you're just going to bleed into the other. You don't really want to stop because it sort of does the soap opera thing where it leaves you on a bit of a cliffhanger. You're like, oh, I need to continue on. But when you're done, you're going to kind of like, oh, man, I want more. When does Earthrise drop? Or when does Kingdom drop, which are Act 2 and Act 3? We're not going to get the next act of this until 2021. And that sucks. So I would say, if you can, yes, you should definitely watch these. You should watch this Act 1, Transformers War for Cybertron, The Siege. Very wordy title. You might want to shrink that. You should go ahead and watch that. But I think you might want to pace yourself just so you can kind of enjoy the ride. Because when it's over, you're going to have a long time to wait before the Autobots roll out again. All right, those are my thoughts. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought about them. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. We have an email. You can email us at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. This current episode that's going up, we're going to talk more about Transformers War for Cybertron Act 1, The Siege, on there with my co-host Blake. We'll get all into under the nuts and bolts for this series and what Transformers has meant to us as we have grown up and gone along our lives. All right. Hope everyone is being safe. I hope everyone's being well. Take care. Thanks, guys.